Hi there. Welcome to Casey. My name's Skip Ellis, and I'm going to spend a few minutes with you now to talk about the safety policies and procedures that we've established here throughout the stores to make this workplace a friendly place, a safe place, and a compliant place. I'm going to talk about a number of different subjects this morning. I'm going to move through them fairly quickly, and I do that because I think some of them are common sense. For example, I'm going to tell you to run out of a burning building. I think most of you probably already know you're supposed to do that, so I don't need to spend a whole lot of time explaining all the reasons why. Because I am moving quickly, I encourage you to ask questions at the end of this. If you think of questions later and you get back to the stores, talk to your managers. All of them are very well trained. Additionally, we have policy books in all the stores that explain everything that I'm talking about. So get more information if you have any questions. Now, this is a general kind of overview of the safety stuff. It's intended for all the employees that are hired. Some of you may work in special kinds of jobs. Maybe you're a painter and you need to wear a respirator. Or maybe you work in the parts department and you need to drive a forklift. Well, things like that require additional safety training. Those topics and subjects will be covered once you get back to the store. Again, I encourage you to ask questions at the end of this, and for right now, just sit back, pay attention, and we'll roll through this. All right, well, the first subject I want to talk to you about this morning, and I'm doing it first because it's the one that we spend the most time on, is the Hazard Communication Standard. Now, a lot of people know this by its more common name, the Right to Know laws, the Right to Know standard, things of that nature. And basically what it is you're in a workplace where we have some hazardous materials. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody. And on a given daily basis, you know, as you're walking through the stores, the shops, the showrooms, the cleaning closets, things like that, you have the potential of coming in contact with several hundred different types of hazardous materials. Because you're in that kind of workplace, you have the right to know what these materials are. You can identify them. You have the right to know how to protect yourself from these materials. You have the right to know what they can do to you. And you have the right to know what to do in emergency procedures. You know, maybe you were exposed, maybe we got a spill, things like that. I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes or so explaining to you how you exercise those rights. Now, the first thing that I mentioned was you have the right to identification. Everything coming into Casey here is labeled. Okay? We will not accept products that are not labeled. And these labels, most of them are set up for consumer use. If there's anything hazardous going on, it's listed on the label. Some of the emergency procedures are listed on the label. Ingredients that need special warnings are listed on the label. There's even pictograms. It'll tell you, you know, this stuff burns. So you're identifying the products is a pretty easy thing to do. And we have one place where sometimes this breaks down. Some of the products that we bring into the workplace, we bring in bulk. Okay? It could be in a gallon jug like this. It could be in a 5-gallon pail. It could be in a 55-gallon drum. And we bring it in here. We buy it that way because it makes sense. And we need to take it out of these nicely labeled containers and put them into other containers so that we can actually use them. You know, for example, we take this stuff, we pour it into this spray bottle so that we can spray it, and this is vinyl dressing so that we can use it on the inside of a car. When we do that, there's a chance this chain could be broken. So secondary containers are problematic, and they're kind of a pet peeve of mine. If you're going to use a secondary container, you need to make sure that it's labeled. This one obviously is. It comes from the manufacturer. It's already got a label on it. All we got to do is make sure that the right product gets in the right secondary container that's labeled that way. Sometimes they're not labeled. Sometimes we just have a generic secondary container. When that happens, what you need to do is you need to get enough of a label on it so that we can tie it back to the original label. Okay? You know, if we're putting glass cleaner in this, we should put the name of the manufacturer, the glass cleaner, and if there's any particular hazard associated with it, we should write that on there too. For example, if it's flammable, write flammable. And that way, wherever this thing is, whoever picks it up, they're going to have some clue as to what's going on. Also, if there's an emergency and we need to get additional information, we can say, okay, we know who made this, we know what it is, and we can go get that additional information. All right? Real simple thing, and it's something I check for all the time. Another pet peeve of mine, okay, don't ever use, let me cover up the vendor here. I don't want to do any free advertising. Another pet peeve of mine is putting hazardous materials in food containers. Okay, I walked in one of the shops the other day, and there was a Gatorade bottle sitting on a toolbox that had glass cleaner in it. And the glass cleaner was kind of a bluish color. Looked just like the Gatorade that came out of the bottle. You know, that's bad juju. Okay, we don't need to do that. And be aware of it, and let's keep this workplace clearly identified for the hazards. Now, if you need more information, okay, if you need more information on any of the materials you're working with, we have those in the form of material safety data sheets. Okay, we have safety data sheets on all the products that are in the stores, and these are stored electronically. If you're using a product, you want to know more about it, you can see. I recommend that you go to the service manager or the parts manager, because they're going to be the ones that have immediate access to it. They keep it on their computers. They can pull you up the sheet, and the sheets have all kinds of great information. All right, what it can do to you, what the exposure limits are, what kind of safety equipment you might need, what to do in an emergency, okay, who makes it, what the ingredients are, things of that nature. So the additional information is available for you, and we have sheets on every single product. Now, that's kind of how you exercise your rights. And that's sort of dry, and, you know, okay, we're going to label it, we have sheets on it, and things like that. Let me talk to you about what I think is important. You know, I'm kind of old. I've been in the business a long time. When I first started, we had some really bad stuff that we were working with. You know, we worked with asbestos on a regular basis, you know, in brake linings and gaskets. All of the cleaners that we had, you know, had carcinogens in them. Even gasoline, you know, heavy metals. I mean, we're exposed to lead on a daily basis. From a toxicity standpoint, the car dealerships now are a much safer place. A lot of that bad stuff, 90% of that bad stuff has been pulled out of here. In fact, you probably got worse stuff sitting underneath your kitchen sink at home. But that doesn't mean it's entirely safe. All right, and let me pick up this can of brake cleaner again, because we still have to pay attention, because we got a different sort of hazard. When we took out a lot of the bad stuff, we created a lot of flammables. Many of the products that you're surrounded with on a daily basis are flammable. For example, this brake cleaner is a great example. When I was young and working in the shops, the brake cleaners that we had, they didn't burn. You know, we could spray them anywhere and do anything with them and clean even hot surfaces. We never had to worry about fire. Unfortunately, they were made of something so toxic that it would go right through your skin and cause cancer. So we don't want those anymore. We've taken that stuff out. We put new stuff in, the new stuff burns, okay? And if I have any fear with the products that you guys will be using on a daily basis, it's fire. Pay attention to what you're using, where you're using it, and how you use it. And a lot of things you don't even think of as being flammable really are. A great example is windshield washer solvent. You know, there's stuff that you push the button on your car, it goes up, and, you know, your wipers clean off your windshield. That stuff has alcohol in it. If you go and read the labeling, read the safety data sheet, you'll see, hey, this is a flammable. So if you got that stuff stored under your desk or something to top off customers' cars with, or clean your computer screen with, pay attention to where you're using it. you know, if you don't, you spray it in the wrong area, you could go poof, and we don't want that to happen. So if you do have any questions about any of the chemicals that you're using in the workplace, please see your manager. If you want to read the additional information, please get with the service or the parts manager, have them print off the safety data sheet, and go ahead and roll through it. If you need additional information, even beyond that, in the safety data sheet is a 800 number that you can call and discuss things in further detail with them. You guys have a right to the information. I want you to exercise that right if you feel you need to. Thank you, and we'll move on to the next subject now. Okay, y'all, this is the part of the training where I tell all of you adults that you're supposed to run out of a burning building. And I'm kind of hoping you knew that before I said it. We do have an evacuation policy here at Casey. And the rule is if you're told to go, you need to go. Now, there's a little bit more to it than that, and I'll get into some of the nuance here. First of all, we inspect on a regular basis. We inspect internally. The fire department comes by and inspects regularly, at least once a year, all the stores. All of the work areas have designated exits. So when you get back to where you're working, I want you to look around, notice that there are lighted signs up, places indicating exits. There are also perhaps additional exits to your particular workplace. In the dealerships, we have maps that will direct you to all the different exits. I encourage you to go look at those. In the event of a building evacuation, fire, let's say, you'll be notified in a number of different ways. It could be we're going to use the paging system, just like we do when you got a telephone call. We may have a fire alarm, which we do in some work areas. Or we may use good old word of mouth, and that means somebody's screaming, saying, get out of the building. When that occurs, the rule is you are to exit. Go out, best exit that's available to you. Once you're outside the building, now this is important, once you're outside the building, you don't go jump in your car to go to 7-Eleven to buy a beer to watch Casey burn or anything like that. Okay, what you do is you go to the assembly area. The assembly areas for all of the stores are out in front of the stores along the main road. Typically, it's close to where the signage is or the main entrance is. Not right in the road, but off to the side. Now, it's important you go there for several reasons. One is if you were the poor soul that got left inside, we'd want to know that you're the missing one, so perhaps we could direct some help your way. And secondly, if you did get outside the building safely, we need to know that too, because we don't want to put a first responder in harm's way by sending them in there looking for you. Okay, so it's real important that you check out, you check out at the assembly area before you leave the premises. If you have any questions on this or how to get out of the building, I encourage you to see your manager, look at the maps when you get back to your work area. Now, I'll be honest with you. Building evacuations are kind of rare events. What's much more common in our business anyways, remember I previously, just a few minutes ago, told you you're surrounded with flammables. Well, you're also surrounded with sources of ignition. What's more likely to happen is we're going to have a small fire breakout somewhere. Somebody's going to do something wrong, use the wrong chemical in the wrong place, or throw away something that was too hot into a trash can. We get a trash can on fire. These kinds of occurrences happen, I don't want to say regularly, but certainly more often than evacuating a building. So when that happens, it is safer, guys, to put out the fire than it is to evacuate the building. And that's what I encourage you to do. You are encouraged to fight fires in the small, incipient stages when they begin, if you're comfortable with that. And the way that you do that is you go grab one of these, closest fire extinguisher. Here again, when you get back to your workplace, look around because we got them all over the place and they're well marked, they're inspected regularly, they are there and they are ready to go. You grab that fire extinguisher. Let's say my table here is on fire, okay? I come back to where the table is. I stick my finger in this pin, it's just like a hand grenade. I jerk that pin real hard. There's a plastic seal on it. It'll break that seal. Break that seal, then you take the nozzle and you point it at the fire. Now you're going to point it at the bottom of the fire and you squeeze the handle. Now this stuff, if you haven't ever used one, this stuff will come out fast and furious. It does a great job of putting out a fire if you use it properly. If it's a big fire, okay, we spilled some gasoline on the tabletop and it's dripping on the edge. Same drill, we go get the fire extinguisher, we come back, we pull the pin, we take the nozzle, we point at the bottom of the fire, squeeze the handle, except this time we're going to go back and forth. Always attacking the bottom of the fire. And if you do that, even a small fire extinguisher like this will put out an awful lot of fire very quickly. And again, that's much safer than just letting the fire get out of hand, put the building on fire, and try to evacuate everybody. So you are encouraged to use them if you're comfortable with it. Now, the last rule, and I really want you to remember this. If you've used one of these fire extinguishers and pulled the pin and broken the seal, this thing has to be serviced. Okay? Don't go hang it back up, because then the next time we need it, it might not work. You take this thing, you take it, you go set it in your manager's office so that they remember to call the fire extinguisher company so they can come out, get this thing ready to go again, let the fire extinguisher company hang it up. So when we look around the dealership or we do our next inspection, we know that all these things are ready to go for you. All right? If you have any questions on this, I will direct you to, normally I say go to your manager. If you have questions on this, I want to direct you to the service manager, and these guys can walk you through this procedure in a little bit more depth than I just have. It's hard to do on camera. All right, thank you, and we'll move on to the next subject here in a minute. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is something that we never talked about when I started in this business. It's something that is new and has emerged recently as a safety topic. And it's workplace violence, and more specifically, active shooter. What do you do if somebody is in one of the stores and has a gun or a bow and arrow or anything and is shooting people, shooting randomly, shooting people, creating havoc? What do you do? We do have some rules, some guidelines that have been handed down from people much smarter than me, people in law enforcement, people in security, people that have investigated recent incidents. And I want to lay out those guidelines for you because they could save your life should this unlikely event ever occur. First of all, if that happens, you are to run. Okay, just get out. All right, don't wait for an announcement. Don't try to help or anything like that. Run. Now, if you cannot run because your only path of escape is going to put you in harm's way, then your next choice, second option, is you hide. Hide to the best of your ability, and when you do hide, try to barricade yourself in, lock doors, stack stuff in front of doors, and if there's glass or windows involved, try to block them so that nobody can look in and see you. In the event that you're hiding and you're found, then the third option to you, the third step in this procedure is you need to fight. You need to fight as you well know that your life depends upon it. Fight hard, fight aggressively, don't be scared. And then the fourth thing in this sequence of events is once the first responders arrive, once we have some help in law enforcement and we have help on the scenes, is you need to follow their direction, okay? Don't scream, don't yell, don't make any sudden movements. We don't want them mistaking you for a bad guy. Move calmly, keep your voice at a reasonable pitch, and follow their directions. If they say go, you go. Don't try to give them, assistance. Don't stand and chat with them. Don't turn around and take pictures. Don't do any of that. If they say go, go. If they say go this way, you go this way. Do that, and those are the best rules that we have for keeping you guys safe in the unlikely event this happens. Now, I do want to make one more point. The first one, and I'm going to go through these again, the first one was run. Now, earlier in this video, I told you that when we evacuate a building, we all need to go kind of stand in a group out at the front of the building there so that we can get a head count. In an active shooter situation, you are not required to all go and stand in a group. I think you understand why. In an active shooter situation, when you run, you get out of sight and stay hidden until the situation is under control and you can report that you are out safely. So let me go through them one more time. Run, hide, fight. Pay attention to the authorities when they show up. Don't make sudden movements. Don't scream. Don't yell. And don't argue. And those are your best steps to stay and safe should this event ever occur. Again, something we never talked about. It's a little sobering, but it's a necessary part of this world. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is, and this kind of lends itself with the fire extinguishers that I was just talking about, is we got safety equipment in the stores. And we've got fire extinguishers, which we just discussed. We've got breaker panels. Okay, these are the things, you know, you got them also in your house, you know, and people call them the fuse box or whatever. It's where you can turn on and off the electricity to certain circuits. We have eye wash stations, and these are the three primary things that when I walk through a store, I find blocked. Okay, you cannot block. You don't want to block emergency equipment. The rule is this: we need at least 3 feet clearance in front of these things. That includes a breaker panel. You know, if you're in the parts department, where it's typically where the breaker panels are in the shop, okay, you don't stack things in front of it. Fire extinguishers, okay, they're hanging on the wall, they're real nice. It's not a place where you throw your coat, okay? That blocks that emergency equipment. Eye wash stations, they hang on the wall where we need them because we have some materials that are corrosive, like battery acid. And invariably, I find that the eye wash station just becomes a bench to hold odd parts and tools and, you know, knickknacks and tchotchkes and things like that. Okay, safety equipment needs unobstructed access. So if any safety equipment in your work area, it's your responsibility to make sure that people don't stack stuff in front of it, block it, or obscure it in any form or fashion. Now, we also have personal safety equipment. And I'm going to spend just a minute here and explain these to you. Okay, all employees get eyewear, okay, safety eyewear. Okay. There's a, you know, actually, we have pretty nice sets here at Casey. Okay, even comes with its own carrying bag. I see Joe gave me a red pair for this training today. Yeah, kind of exciting. This is how you use them. Okay, just like that. If you have any questions, we can provide additional training for you in the future. These are an important item, and we do have certain times in the stores that you are absolutely required to wear them. For example, if you're going to use compressed air, okay, you got to have them on. If you're going to be underneath a car, you got to have them on. If you're using power equipment, you know, grinding, cutting, things of that nature, you got to have it on. In the safety policy book is every operation where we require eyewear. We've also got signage posted where we require eyewear. So this one is kind of a black and white thing. You don't have to think about it much. If you're doing something that requires eyewear, you put your eyewear on. We also have part of the policy that's called a common sense policy. That means if you're involved in any kind of activity where there's a chance you might get something in your eye, and you're going to know better than I can write the policies, you need to put your eyewear on. Now, we established this policy a number of years ago. I'm thinking 10, 12 years ago. And up to this point, employees have bought into it. Every crop of new employees, just like y'all, has bought into this policy, and it's working. I'm standing here today to tell you, you need to buy into it. If you're doing something where there's potential of you getting something in your eye, okay, you need to put on your safety eyewear. If you lose your safety eyewear or it gets broken, you need to let your manager know and we will replace it for you. Okay? We want to make sure that every employee has the opportunity to get to the safety equipment, and this is the #1 piece of safety equipment. Second piece of safety equipment I'm going to talk to you about is a real common sense item, I hope. I hope everybody buys into this one. It's seat belts. Okay? When we look at the statistics, you guys are in the car business, when we look at the statistics, actually, your biggest chances of having a major kind of catastrophe are while you're operating these cars. Okay? If you're in a vehicle and it's moving, you need to have your seatbelt on. That's it. And if you're on the road, it's the law. And I'm not going to beat this horse up anymore. I'm going to tell you to do it, and if you don't, you will be severely reprimanded. Wear them, they work. Third piece of safety equipment I'm going to talk to you about is respirators. We have some operations where respiratory protection is required. It is in the collision center. It is the guys that are shooting the paint. That's the only work area that we have right now where we potentially could get to a level of exposure that we need to protect the workers. The people that are required to wear respirators go through an awful lot of special training. They also go through medical evaluations and things like that. It's not for the general public. If you're going to work in one of those areas, you need to receive that training. Now, that's far beyond the scope of what we're doing here this morning. Respirator wearers will receive that training and medical evaluations once they get back to the body shop. For the rest of you, okay, you got no business in there shooting paint. Just don't do it. If you choose to put on a dust mask or something like that because you got allergies, you don't like the dust that's blowing on the parking lot when you walk across it or something like that, you can do that. We're not going to tell you you can't. But if you do, we want to make sure that you choose the right kind of respirator. We also want to make sure that you do it safely. So if you're going to use any kind of filtering face piece or respiratory protection, you need to see the service manager first so that they can advise you on it and give you some basic safety rules on it. Okay, now let me knock out a few quick ones here, a few quick safety elements that just because they're quick doesn't mean they're not important. We've got all these stores and we got a lot of equipment in all of them. We got lifts, we got bay doors, we got computers, we got lighting, we got things like that. We got all this stuff. Sooner or later things break. And when it does, that can create a dangerous situation. What I want to talk to you about is what's called lockout tagout. Now, lockout tagout deals with things that could store energy, like it could be electrical energy, it could be kinetic energy, a vehicle on a lift, it could be a pneumatic, hydraulic, spring energy, whatever. Things that store energy that could be released unexpectedly can cause you some harm. So I want to make sure you know what the rule is. If you come across, I'm not training anybody here to repair that stuff. What I am training you here today is to recognize when something's broken, you shouldn't mess with it. We have maintenance people, we have outside contractors, we meet with them regularly to make sure that certain safety things happen. And one of the things that happens is if we have a broken piece of equipment that could cause harm by releasing energy, we lock it out. Okay, we may put a lock on it, and the lock may be somewhere where you can't see it. It could be on the breaker panel or something. And then we put a sign on the piece of equipment that says, hey, do not use. If you see something like that, or if you come across a lock, don't use it. Don't. It's pretty simple. Okay, don't be cutting off locks, don't be bypassing things, stuff like that, because they are there for a reason. They are there to keep you safe. And you'll be notified when things go, into lockup, but maybe you weren't there, so pay attention to the sign. You'll also be notified when things come back online and they're safe to use again. So please heed the warnings, pay attention to that. Excuse me. Now, right along those lines is what we call non-routine tasks. This is where some really bad accidents can occur. And what it is people doing something they're not trained to do. All right, already in this video I've told you, hey, if you ain't trained to wear a respirator in the paint shop, don't go in there and do it. All right, that would be a non-routine task. It can also involve a lot of other common things. We all see the forklift running around the stores. Forklift is really a dangerous piece of equipment. I've been involved in some accident investigations where there have even been deaths involved with forklifts. If you're not trained to get on a forklift, you shouldn't be on a forklift. That is not part of your job function. If it is part of your job function, we'll train you, okay? But if you're working in sales, you got no business getting on it. We got people out, right here where I'm standing, you can't see it because it's behind the counter, but behind the camera, they're repairing a door today, one of the bay doors. Okay, the guy's got one of these lifts that goes up and down. All right. Well, ain't nobody here trained to operate that thing, so nobody needs to get on it. Stay away from non-routine tasks. If you are asked to do something outside of what it is you're trained to do, outside of your job scope, then ask for help, okay? And we'll get you the training, we'll get you the safety equipment, we'll do everything that's necessary to make sure that no catastrophic incident or even minor incident occurs. All right, let me wrap all this up. I've covered a number of different topics. Like I said at the beginning, I went through them kind of fast because a lot of it's common sense, but hopefully I gave you a few nuggets that'll help keep you safe here at Casey. If you want to refer to anything, I'll remind you that there are books in all the stores with all the policies and procedures, and there are well-trained managers that can answer your questions. During this orientation that you're in, you're going to be learning about accident reporting and stuff like that. I want to encourage you to listen and pay attention. Accidents need to be reported. If you're hurt in the workplace, we need to get a documented record of that so that you're protected should that thing need further attention or you need medical attention or something like that. So if you get a boo-boo in work, okay, no matter how big or small, please let your manager know so that they can get the proper record documentation in place. That needs to happen in the first 24 hours, by the way. They can record things with human resources, and you will be protected if we need to do anything further on down the road with you. The last thing that I want to mention to you is safety is really kind of a state of mind. We can write all the books in the world. We can all the rules, all the regulations. We can bring in the safest policy, products, and buy the fanciest safety equipment. But it really only works if people buy into it and people pay attention. And if you don't remember anything else I talked to you about today, I want you to remember that. Be aware, pay attention. Read labels, think about what you're doing, okay? And also, if you see a situation in any of the workplaces that you think is unsafe, report that to your manager. We actually, in the book, we have a whole procedure on reporting things that might be made better. So please keep the lines of communication open, keep your eyes, your ears open, and enjoy your time here at Casey. I did enjoy talking to you this morning. It was kind of, how often do you get to make a video? It was kind of fun. So I'll turn this one back over to the orientation now. Thanks.